when the royal messenger caught up with it.
From the discovery of the fantastic burial place of Tutanhkumun to a sparsely attended funeral in South London, the career of archaeologist Howard Carter was one of stark contrasts, between high adventure and deep disappointment, between fame and neglect, a blessing and a curse. The world was quite literally amazed by Howard Carter's discovery in November 1922 of the almost intact tomb of a young pharaoh of New Kingdom Egypt who died in about 1323 BC. The press competed for the latest exciting news of the discovery. Tourists flocked to the Valley of the Kings in the Theban hills to catch a glimpse of strange treasures which had lain undisturbed for well over 3,000 years. In Europe and America, the new mass media created a new craze, Tutmania, which seemed to be everywhere. In 1922, this was the most powerful peacetime craze the world had ever seen. Today, stimulated by a series of multi-million-dollar exhibitions of the contents of Tutankhamen's tomb, which toured the globe in the 1960s and 70s, millions of visitors come to the tomb itself and to the Egyptian Museum in Cairo, where the original discoveries unearthed by Howard Carter and his team, the jewelry, the funerary equipment, in short, the gold, are displayed complete and intact.
La madera es de Socomoro y el trabajo aquí, como ya sabemos. Y pueden ver aquí el trabajo del vestido con la falda o el adorno dorado.
You know, this is the small king, 80 years old, second one in the scene. So we're going to see everything belongs to the government.
More than anything else, they come to stare at the famous face of Tutankhamenun. But few would recognize the face of the man whose name was all over the headlines in the 1920s, but who died lonely and embittered in 1939. What sort of a person was Howard Carter, the man who found and dug up the priceless treasures of Tutankhamenun? His life story and the story of the buried treasure in the Valley of the Kings contains some of the fiercest contradictions in modern archaeology, as well as some of the weirdest myths and legends. Only now, with the rediscovery of Carter's papers and diaries and pictures, with our own digging in the archive, only now can all this be cut away so that we can understand his complex personality, appreciate the significance of his discoveries, and marvel at the real legacy of the boy king Tutankhamenun. The Egypt of the 1890s, when Carter first started working there, was a vast treasure house of antiquities, to be visited almost at will by Western archaeologists, travelers fascinated by the romance and fantasy of the East, and administrators and soldiers supporting the veiled protectorate exercised by the British. Egyptologists could now understand the written language of the ancients, and archaeology was in the process of becoming more organized as Western science encountered Eastern splendor. This was the atmosphere and the world to which the young Howard Carter would be drawn. Howard Carter was born in London off the Old Brompton Road, Kensington, on the 9th of May 1874, but it was here in the small market town of Swaffham in northwest Norfolk that he spent his childhood. His father, Samuel Carter, earned his living as a painter of animals, wild, domestic and agricultural, and as an illustrator, also of animal subjects, for the Illustrated London News. In fact, Carter family tradition has it that Samuel did the original drawings for the great Landseer lion sculptures at the foot of Nelson's column in Trafalgar Square. But then again, Carter family tradition tended to romanticize the hard facts. Howard was the youngest of 11 children, 8 of whom survived infancy. And because he was a weak, sickly child, he was sent away from London to be raised on his own in a farming community by 2 unmarried aunts. His education here was minimal. I was, he said, unable to go through a regular school training. It began later than usual and ended at the early age of 15.
The grass feed at 14. Roger Groom.
He grew up in this house, a solitary boy with something of a chip on his shoulder which would last for the rest of his life. But some things he did inherit in abundance: a good eye, a love of natural history, and a Norfolk accent. Didlington Hall, home of the celebrated Amherst family, was a 10-mile walk from Swaffham. And the young Howard Carter spent a lot of time here, drawing in the garden and listening to stories about ancient Egypt and its archaeology. For the Amhersts, who took Howard under their wing, were early and influential members of the Egypt Exploration Fund. Didlington Hall housed the greatest private collection of Egyptian objects in Britain. To Howard Carter, this was all pure magic, and as he put it, it gave him a premature longing for that particular country, and his first experience of drawing Egyptian objects. It was his artistic talents which secured for him, at the age of 17, a job in Egypt as a draftsman and tracer.
Stiff and dirty, after a long journey, we crossed over the river to the east bank in an antiquated native ferry boat. There, we climbed up to the rock terrace of the escarpment, where the ancient tombs are situated.
His first posting for the Exploration Fund was 150 miles up the Nile from Cairo to the Middle Kingdom rock tombs of Beni Hassan. The tombs contained magnificent paintings, memorials and inscriptions, which covered about 12,000 square feet of wall space. Carter was the youngest member of a survey team whose function it was accurately to trace and record the wall decorations. Also, to make watercolor drawings of the most important details. He was deeply impressed by the quality of the art, especially its line and color, but he felt that the tracings tended to lack life and imagination. He preferred doing watercolor versions, such as these. Above all, it was the romance of the place which got to him.
As twilight fell silently upon the rock cliffs, there was a look of gloom, an aspect of dreary isolation, which gave rise to disturbed phantoms which sometimes haunt the mind on the eve of adventure. Most nights, I watched the brilliant, starry heavens, and in imagination called up strange spirits from the past until the first gleam of dawn, when, from sheer fatigue, I fell into a deep sleep.
After half a season working as a tracer in Middle Egypt, Howard Carter moved south across the desert to join the new excavations at the remote site of El Amarna, the ancient ruined city of the pharaoh Akhenaten.
A camel's hump is said to vary in size according to the condition of the animal. My old beast must have been in excellent condition. He appeared to have a lump everywhere. I rode him astride, sometimes sideways, but no ways could I get used to his rolling, side-to-side wobble.
Flinders Petrie, the gifted and eccentric father of modern archaeology, had recently started excavations at El Amarna, a city which had been ransacked and deserted after the death of its pharaoh. Petrie gave the 17-year-old artist a brisk, on-site apprenticeship in the sheer hard slog of archaeology. Carter was given his first chance to practice a little independent excavation on his own. So he learned his craft, as he put it, from the very best and sternest of taskmasters. Carter's next move in October 1893 as an artist and draftsman was up the Nile again to Thebes, the traditional capital of ancient Egypt and the city of the living, with its nearby city of the dead just across the river.
My recreation from the drudgery of this everyday work was to watch and paint the wildlife. My wild friends were fairly abundant, though diverse in character, mostly with feathers. The birds which delight in eking out a precarious existence in desolate solitude.
Carter's new posting was with the Egypt Exploration Fund at Deir el-Bahri, the fantastic mortuary temple of the woman pharaoh Hatshepsut, ancient Egypt's most powerful queen. His role was to record the beautiful reliefs which were emerging in the course of excavations of the walls and pillars of the temple.
Although the next 6 years were hard work, I learned much more of the Egyptians' art than in any other place or time.
Carter also learned how to apply his artistic training, what he called the profession my father taught me, to the copying in watercolour of paintings and reliefs and wall sculptures and inscriptions. Now, the traditional approach to copying involved sticking some tracing paper to the wall and tracing the outlines before sending the outlines off to a draftsman off-site who'd fill them in silhouette. Carter preferred an approach which involved much more skill and imagination and intelligence. As he put it, a free hand, some good pencils and brushes, some suitable paper, and honest work. In fact, he didn't like to call this copying at all. He much preferred the phrase drawing work, which sounded a lot less clerical and menial. But there's no doubt it resulted in far better reproductions than the old tracing method, reproductions which drew attention to Carter's abilities for the first time. In 1899, at the age of 25, to the great surprise of his associate, Carter was offered the post of Chief Inspector of Antiquities for the whole of southern Egypt by the French Administration Antiquities Service. This senior post required him to be policeman, diplomat, and archaeologist, and his set of operations noted the Valley of the Kings.
The Valley of the Kings. Egypt's wonders there is none, I suppose, makes more instant appeal to nation. In this lonely head, remote from recent life, with the highest peak in the hills, standing all like a knap pyramid above the Valley of Egypt.
But Inspector Carter didn't have the funds to excavate. For that, he'd need a wealthy backer. Theodore Davis, retired American lawyer, millionaire, and archaeology enthusiast, amply fitted the bill, and the two men began working together. Dr. Donald Ryan, an American archaeologist of today, has specialized in retracing Howard Carter's footsteps of this period in the Valley of the Kings, including the rediscovery of tombs which had, surprisingly, been lost again in the meantime.
I'm gonna get this big one here.
How's it going down there?
A couple more minutes. We'll have enough of it cleared so we can go in.
One of the tombs which Don Ryan has recently rediscovered and studied is the anonymous tomb number 60 in a tributary valley on the eastern edge of the Valley of the Kings. Howard Carter first unearthed this tomb in 1903, but was disappointed that in his view its treasures had, as in so many cases, been thoroughly looted and destroyed in ancient times.
Okay, watch your step, Christopher. These steps weren't made very well. In fact, this entire tomb is crudely carved. I don't think there's a straight line in the entire tomb. It's my feeling that the tomb was commissioned at the death of somebody important and was hacked out in a short period of time. Now the ceiling here is very low, so you're gonna have to watch your head. All right.
So despite the fact the tomb contained the denuded mummies of two elderly women, Carter closed it down again and didn't even bother to leave a map of its exact location.
And Howard Carter dashed into this tomb, looked around, saw there were no inscriptions on the wall, and apparently was not impressed. Some of these boxes are the various materials that we collected from the different parts of the tomb when we cleared this thing back in 1989.
And Carter missed all of this?
Well, he wasn't interested in this type of tomb. He was into something bigger and better in his mind. And this big wooden box contains the mummy we found lying in approximately this very place on the farm. But there was a second mummy in here, and on its coffin it said Royal Nurse of Queen Hatshepsut. As far as this mummy which remains inside this box, we don't know exactly who it might be. So when you have an undecorated tomb, it can be quite an archaeological puzzle. This tomb's a little different. You're gonna like it a lot.
Another tomb in the valley, the nearby Tomb 20, was cleared of debris by Howard Carter in the 1903-04 season, where he dug through to two quartzite sarcophagi within it. It's one of the deepest, steepest and most treacherous tombs in Egypt, and, then and now, full of air which is foul with the stench of tomb dust and bat dung.
It was one of the most irksome pieces of work I ever supervised. There was serious danger of the rock falling in upon us. And to add to our trouble, the air was also very bad. Candles would not give sufficient light, and I was obliged to introduce an air pump. Even then, the workmen could only work 3 hours at a time.
Oh, stench. It's really good. What is it? I think we know what it is. It's bat guano. I suggest you get against the wall or something, because these things, I think there'll be a lot more coming. Here, stay against the wall, Christopher. All right?
They are revolting creatures.
Just better sit still until they go by.
God, I think one of them touched my face. You think they're rabid, Dom?
There's no way of telling, really.
No, I don't want to find out either. Come on. I think we ought to get out.
After you, Maestro. Okay.
Howard Carter spent his years as chief inspector refining his technique as an excavator, getting to know every inch of the Theban necropolis, and developing a feel for reading the signs. With the tomb of Tutmosis IV, which he began excavating in January 1903, Carter found exactly the kind of tomb he was looking for, and incidentally, Theodore Davis was paying for. He too would have left his hat outside to show passers-by that he was at work within.
Hey, this is more like it.
This is just the kind of tomb Howard Carter was hoping to find. It's a beautifully painted royal tomb of the 18th dynasty. All the little tombs he found prior to this really pale in comparison.
Carter said about this that at last he'd drawn a prize in the lottery of excavation. His moment of triumph.
We can see right here, there's some ancient evidence of tomb robbery. This is an ancient tomb robber's rope that was tied around the pillar here. You can see it's knotted so that the tomb robbers could climb up and down.
Incredible.
What does an excavator do in the moment of triumph, when he feels he has drawn a large prize? Here were all the proofs that I had found the tomb of Pharaoh Thutmose IV,
Have a look at
which,
this.
as you may conceive, gave me a considerable degree of satisfaction.
This is a bit of ancient graffiti written in cursive form of hieroglyphs. And it says, year 8, 3rd month of summer, day 1, in the reign of King Horemheb. That'd be about 1311 BC. King Horemheb commanded Maya, which was one of his officials, restore the burial of King Tutanhkumun IV.
Restore the burial. What does that mean?
It means that within 80 years of the burial of King Tutanhkumun IV, his tomb had been robbed.
It looks like someone's tried to cut out that goddess's head. Do you think that might have happened in antiquity as well?
Probably not. The robbers in antiquity were more interested in precious metals and jewels and gold and such, whereas more modern robbers would be more interested in artistic things that they could sell on the art market.
Within this burial chamber, everything had been broken to bits and thrown helter-skelter by those ruthless vandals, the tomb plunderers, who in their thirst for gold had spared nothing.
And this is the great quartzite sarcophagus of Tutanhkumun IV, although his mummy would never be found in this tomb.
Carter, I think, said that there were all sorts of bits of linen and ceramic lying around this sarcophagus here, so that the scene resembled an orgy rather than a hallowed place. And I believe he thought that the robbers of antiquity had done it.
By 1904, Howard Carter's work as Inspector of Antiquities and as archaeologist had earned him a great deal of respect, if not always affection, among the communities in which he mixed. Above all, the local villagers of Gorna on the way to the Valley of the Kings. He'd learned to speak their language, he even on occasion dressed like them, and he sometimes preferred their company to that of his European colleagues.
To while away the darker nights, I indulge in the diversions of the guest house. I must admit, however, that this practice was liable to serious criticism by colleagues in the government service. They thought it degrading.
In late 1904, Carter was moved from the Inspectorate of Upper to Lower Egypt, which included in its sphere of influence the great necropolis around the step pyramid of Saqqara. After 5 years, it was time for a change, but unfortunately, the new post was to go disastrously wrong. A week into the new year of 1905, and a party of some 15 French people, having had a jolly good lunch over in the palm groves of Memphis, and having had several bottles of wine to wash it down, arrived here at the Saqqara necropolis by donkey and asked in a semi-coherent way to see the monuments. The local ticket inspector, naturally enough, asked them for their money, and several of them refused to pay. They hung around, had a few more drinks, and made their way down to the Serapeum. The Serapeum is an underground complex of tombs where the sacred bulls of Apis were buried. There, the French visitors, not all of whom had tickets, found that without candles, they couldn't see a thing. So they demanded their money back, at which point the tomb guard had his tarbouche knocked off his head. It was time for Chief Inspector Howard Carter to be summoned to confront the French. He asked for everyone's name and address and requested the group to leave the site immediately. They refused, and in the course of further exchanges, one of the tomb guards was hit in the face, and Carter himself was threatened with a punch on the nose. The phrase dirty French was heard by several witnesses to soil Howard Carter's lips as he ordered his men to defend themselves as best they could. A couple of tomb guards were quite seriously hurt, an interior decorator got hit on the head, an accountant from a French gas company was felled to the ground with a truncheon. Any compromise on Carter's part would have settled things. To set natives against Europeans, he was told, was not proper. But he simply wouldn't see it that way. In the next few days, Howard Carter demanded that legal action be taken against the French who'd started the affray in the first place, while on the French side, a formal complaint was lodged with Monsieur Gaston Maspereau, the Director of Antiquities. This made Carter even more stubborn, and he began to ask for a public apology as well. He, the Gaffirs under his command, the profession of archaeologist, and the British Empire, probably in that order, had all been slighted, and he wanted satisfaction. The fragile entente cordiale between the British and French communities was getting less cordial by the minute. Maspereau felt a token expression of regret to the French Consul General was in order. Theodore Davis advised him to give in for the sake of peace and harmony. That, he added, was the gentlemanly thing to do. But Carter wouldn't budge. So, at the age of 31, he'd done serious damage to an exemplary career and subsequently resigned. He returned south to Luxor and lived in self-imposed isolation amongst the locals in the foothills of the City of the Dead. For the next 3 years, he guided wealthy visitors around the sites of Upper Egypt and sought commissions for his watercolor paintings. He was short of money, and it was a hand-to-mouth sort of existence.
A far greater trial lies in the monotonous life that one is obliged to lead. The wearisome sameness day after day. The passing of months without companionship. A loneliness that can at times become almost intolerable. Without some mental occupation, it would, I believe, become suicidal.
In summer 1907, Carter returned to England, where he learned that Lord and Lady Amherst, who'd encouraged him to go to Egypt in the first place, had hit hard times. Didlington Hall was up for sale, and the great Egyptian collection was to be dispersed. His world seemed to be collapsing all around him.
Didlington is in brown paper parcels. Lady Amherst is saving odd bits of string.
But his love of Egypt and the fact he had nowhere else to go took him back, where he added a new occupation to his makeshift career as a part-time dealer in antiquities, a job for which he was well qualified. He knew what he was doing and was well known to those who regularly sold their discoveries and acquisitions in the bazaars and side streets. It was a case of gamekeeper turned poacher.
And are these popular, these kind of things? And your ceiling, now that really is old, eh?
Aber not for sale.
If Carter was to return from this unhappy interlude to the work he most wanted, the work of the excavator, he'd need another wealthy patron to support him. George Herbert, 5th Earl of Carnarvon, was a sporting gentleman. In the early years of the century, he'd had a spectacular motoring accident, which led him to spend time away from the family home at Highclere Castle, Wiltshire, on doctor's orders, in a place where the climate was said to be better for him, and also to his search for another absorbing pastime, the excavation and collection of Egyptian antiquities. I would much rather, he said, find an unrifled tomb than win the Derby. And he was in the enviable position to do both. At first, Carnarvon was granted a permit to excavate here in a part of the Theban necropolis where even an amateur could do little damage. It had been rummaged over many times before, and all he had to show for his investment was a mummified cat. But he was absolutely thrilled with it and determined to secure a better concession. For this, he would need a professional advisor and assistant, someone with more credibility. Gaston Maspero suggested his ex-colleague, Howard Carter. It was the start of a most unlikely friendship between the grandee who admired Carter's skills and the craftsman who returned the compliment by modelling himself on his patron. Neither of them could imagine where the partnership would eventually take them. As a sign of Carter's newfound security, he decided to design and build his own castle, a permanent home at the entrance to the Valley of the Kings, which he called Castle Carter. What he yearned for was a concession in the valley itself. What he got was permission to work around its margins. Remote and difficult areas, such as the mountains 1,800 feet above the valley, which involved several hours' trek by donkey and on foot across the hot desert, sometimes concealed secret tombs. The most dramatic discovery occurred a while later, when Howard Carter heard down the grapevine that a rock tomb in a sheer cliff face had been revealed by a flash flood, and that tomb robbers were already at work. Dr. Don Ryan took me on a hair-raising trip in temperatures which reached 55 degrees centigrade to retrace Howard Carter's steps towards the scene of the crime.
How much further have we got to go? A little ways further, but from here it's all on foot.
How long will it take?
20 minutes, half hour, something like that.
That's your pace.
It's your pace.
I should think about 3 hours.
There it is.
You're kidding me. So where's the tomb?
It's a little opening up in the cliff.
Gone. That one there, halfway down.
Right. That's it.
How on earth did you get to it? How'd you get down there? God. I think it looks lethal.
Piece of cake.
Oh, yeah. That's pretty inaccessible. They certainly hid it. So you have to come down from the top?
Right.
You've obviously done this before.
Once or twice.
I haven't, Donald.
It's not a problem.
I see.
There isn't and wasn't a path up this mountain, just a field of boulders with a sheer drop on either side of it, which has seldom been disturbed since Carter's day.
God.
We're right on top of the cliff right now.
It's all getting a bit macho for me.
Great. Let's do it.
When we arrived above the tomb, I found that the plundering Arabs had crept down a crack extending halfway down the cleft to a narrow ledge in the rock. For anyone who suffers from vertigo, it certainly was not pleasant.
Oh, it's slippy. This is the easy part.
Thank you.
Ow. Sorry about that rock fall.
There's plenty more where that came from. Point of no return coming. Where'd I put my leg?
Yeah, right here.
Right. Well done. Well done. My goodness. Just a sheer drop.
Well, this is where we set up the ropes. Right. Here comes the wind.
Don, I don't think that I'm going to go any further. I've made it to the plateau. I think Carter calls it not for people with vertigo, and I'll drink to that. I think I'll leave it to the professionals from here on.
I wholeheartedly concur.
Well, I'm glad to hear it.
Okay.
I'm deeply impressed with the range of skills that archaeologists show. I had no idea.
Carter probably used a knotted rope of some sort. It would be pretty scary. And he didn't have all this modern mountaineering equipment. Solid.
That's reassuring.
All right, I'm going to give this a toss. Rope!
The guide pointed out to me the end of a rope which dangled sheer down the face of a cliff. Listening, we could hear the robbers actually at work. So I first severed their rope, cutting off their means of escape, and then, making secure a good stout rope of my own, I lowered myself down the cliff.
Set. And ready.
Chocked away. You okay?
Oh, yeah. No problem. It's a bit bumpy.
Shinning down a rope into a nest full of industrious tomb robbers is a pastime which at least does not lack excitement. There were 8 at work, and I gave them the alternative of clearing out by means of my rope, or else of staying where they were without a rope at all. Eventually they saw reason.
Carter wasn't sure what he'd find inside this cunningly concealed tomb 130 feet down from the top of the cliff. It had a half-finished, unoccupied look to it. It seemed that the tomb was originally intended for the young Hatshepsut, who'd had an inscribed quartzite sarcophagus placed there in readiness, but that after she seized the throne, she abandoned it for a grander memorial and a mortuary temple, that same temple on which Howard Carter had worked for 6 years.
Oh, this is very strange. This little room here is full of water. Not going in there. This is water that probably entered this tomb sometime during the winter. The rains that occurred filled this tomb.
So, after the incredible labor and imagination involved in preparing it, this cliff tomb was never used.
In this secret spot, her mummy would have had a reasonable chance of avoiding disturbance. In the valley, it had none. A king she would be, and a king's fate she shared.
How was it, Don? Been damaged excessively by flooding. See, when Howard Carter was working on this tomb over a period of 20 days, he came up and down this little bit here in a net.
Let down by someone from above or from below?
Oh, probably with a pulley of some sort.
Yeah. Sounds a more civilized way to travel to me. There you go. Thank you, old chap. Well done.
In spring 1914, Theodore Davis publicly announced that the Valley of the Tombs is now exhausted, and he pulled out. But Carter was convinced there was still at least one more tomb to be found, and he had good reason.
Every day, hundreds of tourists walk past this spot, which is unmarked, without even noticing it. And yet, it played a key part in the research which led to Howard Carter's great discovery.
The research involved a series of finds made between 1905 and 1909 under the patronage of Theodore Davis. In particular, the discovery of some objects which proved to bear the name Tutanhkumun.
The discovery was from this so-called tomb, which is less of a tomb really, more of a box cut into the rock. And it took the form of 12 storage jars, the remains of a funerary feast, some embalming fluid, and some seal impressions. Theodore Davis was convinced he'd stumbled on the badly plundered tomb of Tutanhkumun, and he said as much at a public gathering where he also showed what happened to papyrus when it had been buried for over 3,000 years by tearing a large piece of it to pieces in front of the assembled company. Howard Carter was less convinced. He came to believe that the objects which were removed from this so-called tomb had been taken from another royal tomb, which must be located nearby.
The true significance of these discoveries wasn't appreciated until later, by which time Carter had planned a systematic search of the valley beyond. But his plans came abruptly to a halt. At the age of 40, Carter wasn't expected to see active service in the First World War. But at the beginning of 1915, he was recruited into the shadowy world of the intelligence department of the War Office in Cairo, where his knowledge of Arabic was useful for official communications, and where he became a kind of king's messenger. But it wasn't until the end of the war that he could return to archaeology in earnest.
Work resumed in the valley in December 1917, with Howard Carter still digging on behalf of Lord Carnarvon, but now planning what he called a systematic and exhaustive approach to the whole business of finding an undiscovered tomb. It was an approach which involved taking a 2.5-acre area of ground, defined by the triangle, the tomb of Ramses VI, the tomb of Meneptah, and the tomb of Ramses II. A triangle rather like this: Ramses VI, Meneptah, Ramses II. Then, dividing it up on a grid system derived from plans for artillery barrages in the First World War, and then systematically digging away all the loose chippings and debris right down to the bedrock. As Carter commented, in 1917, our real campaign in the valley commenced.
Carnarvon employed up to 100 men to shift thousands of tons of stone chippings thrown up by previous excavations. As 5 seasons went by, Carnarvon was all for abandoning a search which seemed to be getting nowhere slowly. But Carter argued for one last season, which he even offered to fund himself, and Carnarvon eventually agreed. The season would begin on the 1st of November 1922 with the clearance of the remains of some ancient workmen's huts built for the laborers who dug the tomb of Ramses VI. It was his last chance.
3 days later, a slab of limestone was uncovered here, probably by the water boy, the most junior member of the workforce. It turned out to be a step cut into the bedrock. By late afternoon, the outlines of 12 steps had been cleared, leading down to the upper part of a door, which was plastered and sealed. But the seal impressions on the door were indistinct.
With enormous self-control, Carter ordered the steps to be filled in and sent a telegram in code to Lord Carnarvon.
At last have made wonderful discovery in valley. A magnificent tomb with seals intact, recovered same for your arrival. Congratulations.
2.5 weeks later, Lord Carnarvon and his daughter, Lady Evelyn Herbert, arrived in Egypt, and by the afternoon of the 24th of November, the stairwell had been cleared.
Digging down a few inches below the seal impressions he'd already looked at, they unearthed some much clearer ones. Carter could even make out a name on one of them, the name of Tutanhkumun.
But their excitement became anxiety when they saw that the door had been opened by force at least once before and then replastered and resealed in antiquity. The door was carefully removed, revealing a 30-foot sloping passageway filled with limestone chippings, through which a tunnel had already been dug and again refilled in the top left-hand corner. By 4 o'clock in the afternoon of Sunday, 26th of November, the passageway had been cleared. There was a second sealed door. His hand shaking, his throat dry, Carter cut a small hole through the door. He lit a candle and peered into the darkness.
At first I could see nothing. The hot air escaping from the chamber caused the candle flame to flicker. But presently, as my eyes grew accustomed to the light, details of the room within emerged slowly from the mist. Strange animals, statues, and gold. Everywhere, the glint of gold.
Next week's programme discovers the secrets of the tomb of Tutanhkumun. That's at the same time of 9 o'clock. There's a booklet to accompany this series. If you'd like a copy, then please send a cheque for £3.95, including postage and packing, to Tutanhkumun Guide, BBC Television, London W12, 7RJ.
The Cold War may be over, but the fight for survival in Russia's mountains goes on. BBC Two presents The Realms of the Russian Bear, Sunday at 7:15.
Angus Deaton graces us with his presence in 10 minutes here on 2 when he has some news for you. First, a new series with a new look at art. Sister Wendy Beckett shares her expert, if unorthodox, opinions on the painting world.
This has been my home for over 20 years. My caravan may not look much, but it is my haven, where I can be alone with God. And one of the ways for me of looking at God is by looking at art. Now I spend several hours every day looking at art and writing about it. All great art deals with human emotions and takes us deep into somebody else's world so we can learn more about ourselves. Leaving my life of solitude, even for a short time, is a very big thing. But I haven't had the opportunity to see many paintings in the flesh, so I'm going on an odyssey to see some of the greatest art in various cities around Britain. I hope to share with you the impact that they have when I meet them face to face. I'm beginning my odyssey in Liverpool. I can't help thinking this is a wise choice. This city is so full of galleries and museums that I can't really go wrong. But there's one place I can't miss, and that's the Walker Art Gallery. The Walker has many treasures, but I've come today to see one great marvel in particular. Two, really, perhaps three. I must confess that I've a passion for Busan, and I wondered if I could share it, because I will never have a better opportunity than with this very great painting. It's one of the great love stories of antiquity, how Phocion, the Athenian general, was unjustly condemned to death, and worse than death, because they burnt him and scattered his ashes, which meant in their mythology that his spirit would never rest. And his wife came secretly, scooped up the ashes, here you can see her, put them in a bowl, put in water, and swallowed them, so that he would have a tomb. She would be his tomb, his living tomb. Notice how afraid her companion is, terrified they're going to be caught and punished, as of course they might well be. And the whole picture displays to us the great might of authority, all these great stately buildings, so splendid, so strong, so upright, so perpendicular, so full of masculine power, the rule of law which doesn't take much account of the human heart. And the world goes on unchanged and unheeding. It's a splendid portrayal, a moving, poignant portrayal of the eternal conflict between the individual and the state, between the human heart seeking what is right and the great authoritarian powers of the government imposing law. The Busan can be called a great icon of true love. There's another picture that I want to see that shows just its opposite, the sad inadequacy of lust. This is the most haunting depiction I know of the story of Salome and John the Baptist. You remember Salome, the dancing girl, who wanted his head on a plate? Well, Guercino is the only artist who has tried to show why she wanted that head on a plate. And here you can see why. She longs for him. She loves him, or at least desires him, and he rejects her utterly. It's a haunting picture of one person yearning and another person saying, no. I don't think it's a very saintly attitude, but clearly he feels happy in it because he sees it as temptation, the other that he has to reject. And then you have the strange wonder of who really is in prison here. Is it John, manacled, naked except for his cloak, shut up in a cell? Or is it the wealthy Princess Salome with all her jewels and her freedoms, who's shut up in a prison of her own desire? Look at the hands, his hands so free, so relaxed, so at peace, and hers so clenched, so tight. And look at the witty way in which Guercino has made us wonder who really was beheaded here, because it looks here as if Salome's beheaded. She's lost her head, is what he's trying to tell her, lost her head in a desire for what she cannot have. So that's what the picture is about. Where is freedom? Does self-will imprison us far more than any stone walls and bars could ever do? Contemporary artists also can show us profound and moving images. They're different from the old masters, of course, and challenge us in a different way. The Walker have an impressive David Hockney, Peter getting out of Nick's pool, a very personal title, and that actually is the reason why this is one of his important pictures. Hockney's always good when he's dealing with things that matter to him, and Peter and Nick were two of his closest friends. In fact, he's dealing here with the three things he loves best. That's water just gently moving, the sunlight pouring over the simplicities of a Californian landscape, and a beautiful young man. And what's very interesting about Hockney is that he suddenly discovered when he was still a student that art only works if it comes from love. It was no good him deciding, say, for the highest political motives, that he'd paint dole queues in Bradford in the rain. It just wouldn't work for him. What worked for him was painting beautiful young men in sunlight, full of joy. I must confess I'm not myself a great fan of Hockney's. It's not all that easy to say why, because clearly this is a splendid work. I think perhaps I find it a little bit too diagrammatic. Perhaps I feel he's got the world too intellectually ordered here for me to wholly respond to it as the real world. But I don't want to end on a minor note, because this really is a major Hockney and I get great pleasure out of it. Among Liverpool's many galleries is the Tate of the North. They've a fascinating Stanley Spencer exhibition, and this will give me a very good opportunity to take a long, hard look at his work and try and make up my mind about it. Well, this is a fair example of a strong Spencer. Now, I too think it's a strong Spencer. In fact, I can leave out the qualifications. It's a strong picture. I mean, look at the wonderful wallpaper. Those lovely curlicues on the bed. The wonderful sheets. I love his hair too, all the glistening strands. You're very proud of his hair, was Stanley Spencer. And her hair, he's a bit unconvincing about her head hair, but her pubic hair is lovely and fluffy. And he's painted the body so differently too. He's these two weird contrasts. This sort of corpse-like lividity below, and those sort of hectic flushes meant to show emotional excitement, I presume, above. The woman is Patricia Priest, the upper-class girl who tantalized him and taunted him, all of which he lapped up somehow, and for whom he finally divorced his wife. He dearly loved Hilda, whom he went on loving to the end of his days and writing to every day. They had one night together, Patricia having insisted that he make over the deeds of the house to her, and then a goodbye, Stanley, and welcome back, live-in girlfriend. He's not spread out for his delectation. Patricia's completely indifferent to him. Of course, to some extent, that was the attraction. I must admit, I find her very unappealing, and you wonder where the elegance was, perhaps in the hip bone. Here's quite an interesting instance, actually, of an artist painting what subliminally he knows well, but what intellectually he does not know. At some level, Stanley knows they can never be mates. His art understands, he doesn't understand. But having said all that, and expressed admiration for many of the qualities here, especially that wallpaper, which I really think is lovely, I'm left feeling unsatisfied. And yet, I can't think why I should be. Next week, my odyssey takes me to Cambridge.
And that's at 9:50 next Friday here on 2.
Slapstick is the most ancient and enduring tradition of physical comedy. We seem to take a constant delight in seeing people hurt and humiliated by accidents and acts of violence.
Funny business. 8:05 Sunday on 2.
Rowan Atkinson demonstrates the art of visual comedy in the new issue of Radio Times, which also includes complete listings for all television and...
Okay, you guys, I want you to be real careful in here. It gets kind of tricky. Don't be embarrassed if you have to hang on to tree branches or rocks, okay?
Yes, Mommy. Whatever you say.
Hey, Benny, this isn't the right way.
What a view. Hey, Steve.
Tell me, we're lost.
Gotta turn my shoe, okay? Yeah. Well, I'm really starting to like it up here. Yeah? I didn't think I would, you know. I just came up here to get away from my ex-wife. Actually, I'd like to have her up here with me right now. One little shove, save me about, what, 79 alimony checks, you know? Ah! No! 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 Ah! Ah! Hang on. Put your feet up. Come on. Come on. Now get your feet. Don't look down. Don't look down. Norman, look at me. Help me. Okay, calm down. I'm gonna help you. Do what I tell you. Catch your breath. Reach in that crack. Give me that gun. No. What? Help me now, damn it! I am gonna help you. Now just do what I tell you, all right? Reach in that crack and hand me the gun. Come on. Come on, give it to me. Come on. Where the hell did this come from? Came from my back. I'm a cop. Now, come on. Good boy, good boy. All right, now take it easy. Help me. Grab my wrist. Come on. Okay. All right. Come on. Go. Good boy. Good boy. Got it. All right, one more. Ready?
What the hell happened? What the hell? You're screaming! Look out! Look out! Don't fall! Look out!
Frank, what happened? It's Norm. He just went over.
What?
Norman here, and he fell. Where? I don't know. Do you see him? Oh, my God.
Get back from the edge.
Steve!
Harvey, run!
Jump. Jump!
I'm sorry. I can't.
Stop it! Stop it! Take it easy. It's over. Calm down, Sarah. Calm down. It's over. Understand? Just calm down. Calm down. I'm not gonna hurt you. Understand? I need you. Understand me? I need you. You have to get me out of these mountains. All right? Okay? All right. Good girl. Let's go. There you go. Now, just forget this happened. All right? Just forget this happened. Just go on like before. You're the guide. I'm the customer. All right? Go ahead now.
047 calling Bishop Falls. 047 calling Bishop Falls. 047. Do you read me, Sam?
Sarah. Sarah, is that you, Sarah?
Sam?
God, Sarah,
I didn't try anything.
thought you might be thinking about it.
Listen, Sarah, there's a storm. One hell of a storm. It's here now and it's coming your way. You and your party need to stay there in the hut. You understand me?
Tell him you want to make one more day of travel.
I want one more day of travel.
Sarah, listen, don't do that.
Don't do that. You wouldn't be upset about a storm. Ask him what's wrong.
What's wrong? You wouldn't be upset about a storm, Sam.
This is a very serious storm we're talking about, Sarah. At least 5 inches of snow.
Tell him you're alone so we can talk.
I'm alone.
Miss Furnell, this is Special Agent Manelli of the FBI.
One of the men in your party is an imposter. He's a fugitive wanted for kidnapping and murder. He's armed and dangerous. Do you understand?
Understand?
Sarah, Jonathan's coming. He's leading Stanton, the FBI man up there. He's about 2 days behind you, we figure, but with the snow coming, who knows? Now stay close to the lodge and that radio, Sarah. That's a hell of a storm front that's coming in.
Okay, Sam, I will.
Okay, Sam, I will.
Well, was she under duress?
She sounded kind of strange. I'm not sure.
So who's Jonathan? That's your boyfriend, Sarah? Yeah, it's your boyfriend. Big deal. Don't move.
Dead. Washed down the river.
No. If he knew the mountains, he would have gone alone. He doesn't, so he needs a guide. Come on, she's still alive, and we've got to help her.
Sarah's handwriting. Hell does this mean? You ought to know me by now.
Take it easy, Knox. Just take it easy.
What did this guy do? You said it was extortion and murder.
It was. How do you like this?
That wasn't all it was it?
No, it wasn't.
Well?
He had a hostage in San Francisco. A diamond merchant's wife. He killed her after he got the diamonds. Just to make a point.
What point?
That I shouldn't have interfered.
You botched it up. So now you want revenge. And she's gonna get killed for it.
You listen to me. That note is right. I am getting to know this guy. He'll only kill a hostage he has no use for. Understand me? So long as you and I stay tight on his act, Sarah will stay alive. Now let's get some rest. We'll catch up with them tomorrow. Go get your pack.
They already got a hell of a head start. Now there's only 2 of them. They'll move faster.
Then we'll move faster.
2-3 days they'll be at the border. You said yourself that he'll kill her as soon as he doesn't need her. That means I got to get to them before they get to Canada.
We'll get them before they get to Canada.
Wait a minute, Stanton. You're already exhausted. It's cold, and it's going to get colder. There's a storm moving in. You understand?
I'm not afraid of a storm.
You dumb moron. You could die up there. And if not dead, you'd slow me down so much that Sarah'd get killed. So you got one choice, and that's to stay here.
You go with me, or you don't go at all.
Bull. You're not gonna shoot me.
You ever killed a man? You ever break up a bank robbery? I'm 22 years in the FBI, Knox. I've come up against the Mafia, the Ku Klux Klan, KGB. Understand me, I'm qualified to go after this guy. You think you are, but you're not.
All right, I'll take you. But you better keep up. Because if you slow me down and Sarah gets killed, I'll kill you.
Sarah, slow down. Stop. Sarah, wait. Wait. Last hour. You'll be getting farther and farther ahead. What's the matter, Sarah?
You're crazy.
You get me across the border. I'll I'll give this to you. You understand me? I'm giving you this. But you pull any of that stuff again, and I'll kill you.
Name, say your name.
Warren. Stanton.
Every time you lose your wind, you stop, you say your name. Got that?
What if I'm too tired to remember my name?
For $10, I'll remind you.
Okay.
Stayed in that cabin while you had the chance. I'm gonna have to go up the rock face, then up through a chimney to the top. That'll save at least a day. They'll keep to the valleys to avoid the storm that's coming in. I gotta go over the mountain and right through the storm. So when it gets dark, get in your bag, get under my poncho, say your prayers. You'll be okay. When I get to the border, I'll send some guys for you. Oh, gee. You stubborn, stupid idiot! Can't you listen to common sense? Tie my rope around your waist, and I'll lower you down. Wait, what are you trying to do? Kill yourself? Tie it around your waist, I'll lower you down.
No. I'm coming up.
You're crazy.
I'm coming up.
Fine. Go ahead.
I can't.
Good. Now, you gonna tie on?
Are you gonna lower me down?
Yes.
No.
How the hell with you then? I'm going to Canada.
Knox? Knox!
Mind about going back down, Stanton?
No. I want to go up.
All right, you pig-headed moron. I can't argue with you all day.
Hand around your waist and I'll bring you up.
How do I know you're not going to lower me down?
Because I said so, you stupid idiot.
Now tie on while I'm still in a good mood. Ready.
Well, you gotta climb, too. I'm not gonna do all the work. All right, you push up while I pull.
Come here and light this. What's all this smoke? You setting in a signal or something?
Wood's wet. It's gonna smoke.
Yeah, we're not gonna have any lousy fire. How about that?
You don't want a fire? Fine. We'll have sushi. You want some?
Hey! My leg is cramped! Cramped! Lay back! Yeah! Yeah!
You're soaking wet. Starting to freeze. You're finished. Get your pack off. Find something to dig with. Dig, Stanton, dig. Start digging, we're both gonna die!
Oh, God, you gotta get out of these. Your belly's ice cold. Get out.
What's your problem? You heard about us country boys, haven't you?
Jeez, you smell. Do I smell like that?
Flower's original draft ale has a hoppy nose and a rich coloration exactly akin to the original.
I think he's saying it's just like it is down the pub.
David, this is your very last chance. Travel to the ends of the earth if you have to, but find some chickens.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, I've struck gold.
Funny looking gold.
Hey, with these I can finally go it alone. Start a farm. Sell my free-range chickens to Tesco. I'm celebrating.
Oh, well then try this. It's a real prize winner.
Mmm. Ooh, dry, light, ooh, lovely bubbly. When I'm famous, I'll drink nothing but this. My first chicken is hatching.
Oh. Funny looking chickens.
Celebrate with Tesco Australian sparkling wine.
Rich, thick, and delicious. There's no ketchup quite like Heinz.
Thanks, Mom. Fine, I'll have it.
Who cares that you find just the right present?
Cousin William, I don't suppose you know why Purcell gets the dishes so very clean.
No, but I have a feeling you're going to tell me.
Well, the Purcell grips the grease, then it holds it in the water so it can't get back on the plate. You see?
No. Run me through that again.
See?
No. No.
Well done, Billy.
Purcell washing up liquid. Grips grease for good.
Cadbury's Twirl. 2 folded fingers coated in delicious Cadbury's chocolate. Take 5 for a Cadbury's Twirl.
You want ice? You got ice.
Oh, yeah. Weather looks better. I think we should be able to make up some time.
Thanks for helping me.
Don't mention it. How do you feel?
How do I look?
My great-granddaddy was 87 when he died. I'll always remember seeing him in his coffin.
So?
Well, he looked a damn sight healthier 3 days dead than you do now.
greased. What do we do?
Don't move.
I know that. You, the mountain man, how do we make it go away?
You can't.
Maybe we ought to throw in some food.
We are the food.
Why don't you shoot it?
That'd only tick him off. Let's backtrack, but be real casual.
Casual.
Oh, no. I've never seen a grizzly turn and run like that before.
Hell. Everybody else around here act like they've never seen a black man before. Why should the bear be different, eh?
Which way, Sarah? Which way, Sarah?
Smell it. Move right behind him.
Ow, damn, ow.
What happened?
I don't know, it's my leg.
Stop!
This is not the same thing as them painting graffiti on the side of the wall or digging up the flower beds.
No, I
When they
understand.
actually break into the house, then, I'm sorry, I can't.
I should have ditched you in the woods. I should have let you freeze up there in that snow. I could have left you hanging on that rock face, you know that. Judas Priest.
Gentlemen, we have two new reports. Motorcycle was stolen from behind the high school and $300 missing from the till at the Crown Market. Now, I know it doesn't sound like much, but you never know. We're about to go check out the market.
Mildred, we're very, very busy here.
They broke into my house. The kitchen is an absolute pigsty.
Get someone up there as soon as I can. I promise, okay?
Excuse me, ma'am. Exactly what happened in your kitchen? Could you check to see if there were any long-distance phone calls made from this number? I don't think there were teenagers. What teenagers are going to drink just milk and Cokes when there's also beer in the refrigerator? On that side, the table and the utensils have been wiped clean. Over here, prints everywhere. Why? The suspect brought Sarah here. Rope fibers. He tied her to the leg of this table, sat over there where you are, and ate.
There was a call, Vancouver number, 926-0484.
Stanton. Superintendent Shue. I hope my men have taken care of you. Oh, it's been wonderful. I just about forgotten how. Go to Hoshower Fields. Good. This is Mr. Jonathan Knox. Mr. Knox? Thanks for the clothes. Promise you'll burn. You bet. We just finished interrogating the man the phone call was placed to. His name is Fournier. He lives out in the British properties. Very expensive neighborhood. He's a diamond broker. You're saying he's a fence? We've never been able to prove anything. He claims the call was a wrong number. Phone company said the call lasted 19 minutes. Yeah, we know he's lying. Here's Fournier now.
Superintendent, I'm so concerned about that poor girl being held hostage. I'm very sorry I can't help you. But I would like to know how everything turns out.
Isn't that a fine man? He and I have just been to see your boss, Inspector Shue. And I think we made our point. Is that if you ever bring my client into this sort of stupid questioning, I'm going to sue the whole damn department. Understand? Make sense to you? Uphold the law and all that?
Why the hell are you letting him walk?
We have nothing on him. No grounds for charges. We'll keep him under surveillance. I'm sure your men will come up with something. We appreciate everything, Inspector.
You're just gonna let him off the hook, aren't you?
Look, the police are doing everything they can. Oh, look, mister. You may be some hot stuff guy back on your turf, but you're in my territory now, so sit back and enjoy the ride.
Hey, what the? Get the hands off of me. What is this? Do you know who I am? Shut up. I can pick up the phone and have you killed. What is it, money you want? Huh? You want money? I'll open the safe. I'll give you all the money you want. Good.
Set.
Huh? What's happening? Talk to me, damn it, talk to me!
Oh, Jesus, what are you gonna burn down my house? Look, we can make a deal, huh? Can we make a deal, for God's sake?
You already did. Dead men don't make deals. What did he do anyway?
He stole 2 pounds of diamond from the wrong people.
Oh, no.
We'll torch the deal
No,
as a whole.
I didn't steal them. I didn't steal them. I don't have them. Look, all I was doing was brokering them. I don't even know where they came from.
They can trace that tape.
It'll burn right along with him and the rest of us.
You can get the diamonds back. The guy who stole them is meeting me tomorrow. Robson Square, noon, at the skating rink.
Okay, 30 seconds. Let's go.
Okay. He's the one you want, not me. You can have the diamonds back. Just turn off the timer.
Diamonds, Mr. Fournier?
What are you doing here?
We received a phone call. They said there was a break-in.
Go! Get out of the car! Get out of the car! Come on! Get in here! Come on!
Everybody down! On the side, move, move, move!
Open the door!
On the side. car?
No.
Yes, there he is. On the ferry. On the left-hand ferry. Go, go. Okay. Unless you get a good shot. Look at the hostage. All right, there's going to be a lot of people up there, so watch your fire. What kind of car? The wagon. On the upper deck.
Knox.
What?
He's on that one.
What do you think that?
That's the kind of move this lady would make.
Hey, you can't go on there. Come back. Hold
Where do we start?
Right here. You take the right side, I'll take the left.
Sarah! Get down!
Get up! Come on, don't fight me. Come on. Stop it! Hold it! Let the girl go. Forget it!
Come on, Stanton. Both been here before. Tried to play games last time, got a woman killed, remember? This time you do exactly what I say, or I'm gonna have to kill another one. Now go over the side.
You shoot her, you're dead half a second later.
Stanton, I'm serious.
So am I. You want to die? Go ahead and shoot.
I'll do it!
Let her go or die. That's the only deal you've got to make.
I'll kill her, Stanton. Back off or I'll kill her. She's dead, Stanton. She's dead. I said come over here!
Yeah, that's right. Come on, it's gonna be okay. All right.
No! No!
Oh!
You FBI guys do this kind of stuff a lot?
Every damn day.
Remember Danny and the Juniors, Little Richard, and many more. 40, yes, 40 hits on rock and roll is here to stay.
We hope to talk to Miss Florrie later on today. She was shot by one bullet, which miraculously missed any vital organs. She has lost a lot of blood. Miss Florrie has lost her mother, her grandmother, and her grandfather. So we are trying not to push her too far.
Jason Sherwin, Coram Seabright, King's Markham Chronicle.
Yes?
Are you any more likely to find the men responsible for this than those guilty of the bank shooting?
I'm sure that both crimes will be solved. Sergeant Martin's killers will be found, as will the Tankard House killers.
But it's getting on for 7 months since the bank killings, Chief Inspector.
More like 6, but I'm not here to answer those sort of questions.
Isn't it a fact that statistics show the longer time goes by, the less
Next
likely...
question, please.
Yes, was anything else stolen?
We have a full list of the things missing. £30,000 worth of diamonds and gold were taken.
Don't think there's a connection, do you?
Well, what did ballistics come up with?
Was 5 rounds being fired from a 44, from a black powder revolver, sir.
Well, Martin was killed with a 44 caliber. Pretty sure the ballistics mentioned black powder then, too.
Do they match?
No.
That's a shame.
Odd, though, isn't it? They used a handgun in both murders. I mean, a shotgun is usually the order of the day.
Yeah, but that doesn't connect two crimes.
Well, the probability of it being the same weapon, sir, works out to be 535 to 1, sir.
How'd you work that out?
Well, you see, what it does is, it looks up all the previous crimes and where they were committed.
Don't tell me.
It...
Don't tell me. I have nothing more to say.
Look, that's very unfair. You ought to give priority to us. Support your local sheriff.
That means you supporting me, not me feeding you facts.
Look, come on. I only started at the Chronicle last week. The point is, I know Daisy very well. I could do an exclusive on her.
Do you like her?
Yes. Everyone at school liked her, especially the boys.
Then you should leave her alone. She's a very sad young woman at the moment, and she doesn't need you to exploit her. Now get off my car. Now boast thee death, in thy possession lies a lass of parallel. Daisy, you know who I am. I'm a police officer, Detective Chief Inspector Wexford. I'd like you to answer one or two questions, if you would, if that's all right with you. I'm going to record them, all right? We'll have to go back to Tuesday night. Just tell me where you heard them and what time.
They were upstairs. We were eating our dinner. We'd got to the main course. My mother heard them first. She said, "What's that? It sounds like someone upstairs."
You didn't hear them arrive? You didn't hear the sound of a car?
No. We would have heard a car arrive, and we were expecting a car. Well, not then. Not until 8:15, only she's always early.
Who?
Joanne Garland. She was coming to see Mum. She always comes to see Mum to do the books for the gallery. They run in town together.
Joanne Garland.
She lives over the gallery.
Thank you. So, you heard them upstairs. What happened then?
Davina, my grandmother, said it was the cat.
The cat?
She's a big cat called Queenie. Half Persian. Sometimes in the evening she rampages around the house. It's amazing what a racket she can make.
Go on.
Harvey went out of the room. We heard the shot. And then another. It was a terrible sound. Really terrible. My mother screamed, and we all jumped up. No, I jumped up, and my mother did. And I sort of started to go out, and my mother shouted, "No, don't." And he came in.
He? There was only one?
I only saw one. I heard the other. I didn't see him. I only saw one. He had a gun. He came in. All right. He came in. Davina was still sitting there. She never got up. She just sat there with her head turned towards the door. He shot her in the head, I think. Then he shot my mother. After the shots, I heard the other one getting a car started outside. think I can describe him.
Good. Very good, Daisy.
What I could see of him. He was, well, not too tall, but thick-set, heavily built, very fair. I mean, his hair was fair. I couldn't see his face. He had a mask over his face.
A mask? Like a hood or a stocking over his head?
No. I just don't know. I've been trying to remember because I knew you'd ask me, but I don't know. All I know is that he had fair hair. Shortish and thick, quite thick fair hair. Maybe he was wearing a mask like the sort people wear in smog or when you use a chainsaw. All I know is that he had fair hair. Shortish and thick, quite thick fair hair. Maybe he was wearing a mask like the sort people wear in smog or when you use a chainsaw. I could see his chin. His eyes.
Please, you don't have to tell me that.
No, I want to. I want to tell you. Do you have children, Inspector?
Yes?
Boys or girls?
2 girls.
Well, they're not safe. As long as he's alive, they're not safe. I want him caught.
Oh, we'll catch him. Don't you worry.
He shot me. I don't know. I don't remember. It all happened so fast. 10 minutes, that's all. That's all I can remember. He shot me. My heart. My heart hurts.
How is she?
Who are you?
I'm Nicholas Furzin. I'm a friend of the family.
Well, she's a very sad girl at the moment. She needs all the support that she can get.
Well, do you have any idea who did this?
No, it's too early yet.
Of course.
Say you're a friend of the family's?
Yes, a close friend. Especially close to Daisy.
Does Daisy know that you're here?
Yes, I've been here since dawn, but they wouldn't let me see her. Is she going to be okay?
I hope so, Mr. Furzin.
Thank God for that.
Hello.
Evening.
You heading back to the house?
I am.
I couldn't buy my lift, could I?
Yeah, jump in. What time did you say you got home on Tuesday night?
8:20. 8:25. That's the nearest I can make it. I didn't think I'd have any reason to be precise about it. I know I was back in my house when the clock struck the half hour.
You know a Miss Bib Mew who works at the house?
I know who you mean. I didn't know she was called that.
Miss Mew left the house about 10 to 8, and she got back to her own cottage at Monroe and about 10 past 8. She used the same by road as you. I'm surprised you didn't see her.
I met no one.
Where had you been?
I told you, Copsinger Wood near Stowart.
Good. The car the killers came in can't have used the by road, or you or Bib would have seen it, right?
Right. So they must have used the road we just drove in on.
Oh, we already had a roadblock on the main road. Is there any other way out of here?
Through the woods, you mean? A jeep could make it if the driver knew the woods. He'd have to know them like the back of his hand, though. There's so many dips and whatever. I wouldn't be able to do it. Could you stop here? I've got to get some things from the workshop.
When did you start working here?
May.
Who looked after the woods before you?
Some people called Griffin. A couple and their son. The son was grown up. He had a job in town.
Well, why did they leave?
Old Griffin was getting on. They had a place to go to, somewhere they bought. I don't know much about them.
The Harrisons, I imagine, would know more.
They weren't on speaking terms.
Oh, why?
Brenda tells me they insulted her.
Hello.
I really don't know. You'll have to ask them. Do you want to go out? Come on, then. Come on. Out you go. Strange, all of you being based in Daisy's place.
Sorry?
The stables. They were her sanctuary. She spent hours in there on her own, doing her own thing. Have you seen her since Tuesday night?
Yes.
How is she?
Oh, she's a very sad girl.
But she's going to be all right, isn't she?
Yes, we hope so. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Gallagher. We'll speak again.
Anytime.
Evening, Governor. Oh, evening, Kenny. Nice to see you back.
Well, you can see part 2 of Kissing the Gunner's Daughter next Sunday evening at 7:45.